Hello and welcome to Get Published. Tonight I am going to be your host. I am Jeffrey Height. As you can see by the tagline at the bottom, I am the future ruler of the world. But for tonight, I am the host of Get Published, and I'm going to be talking to two of my favorite people, Mike Plested and J.R. Murdock. And the reason I'm talking to them tonight is between the two of them, they've spent the last 2 years doing many things, but among those things, they've spent the last 2 years writing a book called Jack Kane and the Statue of Liberty.
Not to be confused with Jake Kane and the Statue of Liberty.
No, not to be confused with Jake Kane, which is how I named this hangout when we first started. But it's an interesting story. The book is very interesting, but I think more interesting is the process that they use to do this. This is a steampunk novel, which is, steampunk is very cool. But beyond that, they've collaborated on this book together, and I think the process of how they went about writing this is quite interesting. So we're going to talk about that and get an idea of what worked and what didn't work, and go from there. But before we do,
you get him. Get him.
It was very noisy. I would like each one of you to introduce yourself, starting with Mike. Tell us about yourself, please.
Well, and I can promise you it's not my dog. I'm Mike Plested. I am the host of Get Published normally, so this is all rather odd. I also am a published author with of the series Mick Murdock Boy Superhero, and the second book, Mick Murdock The Power Within. I have edited a couple of anthologies, namely A Method to the Madness, A Guide to the Super Evil, and the newly released Dimensional Abscesses, which is the first book actually released by the new wonderful publishing imprint Evil Alter Ego Press, which is a collaboration between our today host, Jeffrey Height, and myself. And I am also a scout leader. Yeah, there's lots of other things. And I've got another book coming out this next month too, besides the one that Mr. Murdock and I have coming out.
So Jay, please introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
I am J.R. Murdock. That's Murdock with a K, not with an H, not to be confused with Mick Murdock. I am not Mick Murdock's dad in any way, shape, or form. And despite everyone wanting to spell my name with an H, no, it is spelled with a K. And as Mike said, Jeff and Mike did Dimensional Abscesses, which I do have a story in. Welcome to the Lux Dairy. I have also my book coming out with Mike. Seems like we all know each other really too well over here. Jack Kane and the Statue of Liberty coming out, and we will get very in-depth with that. I've done podcast novels. I did V&A Shipping, which came out in, I believe it was 2009 I released that one. I also have Billy Barbarian out there. Both of those are on podiobooks.com. I have the first season of Golden West for the Action Pack podcast, which if I can get Mike to agree to it, we might get that up and running again, which would be a lot of fun.
I think that's possible.
That would be a hoot to get that one up and running again. And I do have many other books out there available on Amazon, and you can hit me up on jrmurdock.com and see everything that I'm working on.
Very cool. Thank you both for agreeing to talk with me tonight and talking about your book. I think the writing process and how people come up with an idea is very cool. So obviously Mike and I have come up with a couple of ideas together, and our ideas usually come from a weird Twitter conversation. How did you guys come up with the idea for this book at first?
Well, it actually came about because either one of us or somebody out on the internet and on the Twitter sphere suggested that JR and I might actually be able to work together because our styles are somewhat similar, our backgrounds are somewhat similar. They thought that it might be I'm not going to say who, by the way. It could be anybody. It could have been anybody. Said that we might be able to work together. So I approached JR and I asked if he'd be interested in doing that. that being a collaboration work, and it took you a while to come around. What, about 10, 15 minutes anyway?
Yeah, it took me to go, wait, who are you? Why are you talking to me?
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, I believe I had already shitting out, and Mike came out with Galaxy Billies, and somebody said, hey, V&A shipping, Galaxy Billy?
Oh, he's kind of gone.
And just kind of went,
Yeah.
I think it took actually less than 15 minutes for us to come together and go, yes.
Yep. And so the whole idea of Jack Kane, I think we came up with this fact that we wanted to do a steampunk novel that first night, and we only let it soak for a couple of days before we came back together and started plotting it, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we had that. We both went off and had ideas, and as soon as we got together, it was like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then we can do this, and we do this, and then we were trying to piece everything together, and we had names, we had everything, just boom, 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 just one after the other, and I think it took us about a day to get the general plot together as far as what we were going to do, who were the main characters, and it just rolled from there.
Yeah, the first night it was just it was an idea fest, and I think we had a pretty much rough outline before we'd been talking for more than about 4 hours, which went by really fast.
Surprisingly, yeah, dude. We would get on the phone together and we'd be like, "Oh, dang, wait, I gotta get up in the morning."
Yeah.
The time would just fly by when we'd start talking about the book.
That was going to be my next question. Is how did you guys? I know that Mike is in Canada and you are in California there.
Canada being a big place, by the way.
Yes, Canada is a very big place, and Mike's kind of
a little bit bigger than California.
Yeah, and Mike's is right smack dab in the middle of it, and it's a long way, obviously, to get to your house. So, obviously, the internet's cool, but how did you guys communicate most of the time? Was it by phone or by email, or how did you guys?
Well, the actual meetings we held over Skype. The collaboration tool of choice that we seemed to do the best with for their actual writing was Google Docs. Anything you want to add to that, JR? Oh, he's having some issues. I can see the look on his face. He's thinking, what the hell did he just say?
Lag moment.
A little bit of lag going on there. So, yes, we did all of our meetings via Skype. We used Excel as our plotting device, so very simple. And we used Google Docs when we were doing the writing. And in fact, Google Docs, I think our favorite chapter, there's a chapter in the book that we kind of wrote late, well, very late. And it's a battle royale, because you got to have one of those in a steampunk book. Absolutely. And what we ended up doing was I would write a scene, and really what we did is one chapter we had 2 points of view that just kept jockeying back and forth. So I would write a short scene of what my character did, and I would basically tweet Jay saying, "You're it," and he would write his scene, and we could actually watch each other do it. Yeah, we could watch each other do it on Google Docs because we had the document open at the same time, and we could watch each other typing it as we went. So it was fun that way.
Yes.
I can imagine. I mean, if you guys are actually watching each other, no, you can't write it like that, no. Or, oh my goodness, I can't believe you just said that.
What did you do?
That was my rocket launcher.
Yeah, you can't knock my head off. I'm supposed to win, damn it.
So you use Google Docs.
Mike said it was a lot of Skype, a lot of Twitter, a lot of
We're losing you again there, Jay.
Yeah, so you basically used all the tools out there to do this, so that makes it very interesting. What and I don't want to cut you off, Jay, but you're having issues.
You're not kidding.
What things did you guys run into as far as problems when you were creating the book?
Well, as we said, we had it all plotted out, and we actually had it.
My apologies, I dropped my video because I'm getting on the audio.
Okay, that's fair. Although you're still cutting in a little bit, but that's all right. We had the book completely plotted prior to NaNoWriMo, and our thought was we were going to use NaNoWriMo as our launch point to try to get the book all done. Now, within the plotting, we had plotted to the point where we knew which character was where. We had it down to hours within the day that things were happening. So, really, we thought we had it to the point where we could each go away and write in November, and then come back. Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you tell it for a bit.
And come back together and say, okay, now all we have to do is just piece everything together one chapter at a time, and it's done. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, what we hadn't really anticipated was the little things, all the continuity errors that crept in. So little things like what color of hat was somebody wearing, or what did what street were they on when they did this, or what kind of a vehicle were they driving. Yes, they did the things that came in sequence, but I might end up and the guy's wearing, and this sounds maybe really simple, I might finish the scene with one of my characters wearing, a black fedora or something like that, or a top hat, and then Jay would come in and he would have his characters interacting with mine, and my character maybe wasn't wearing a hat at all. That doesn't sound very big, but it was everywhere.
Yes, it was all over the place, and it was littered throughout, and that made it really painful to go through and clean up.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I mean, all the little things, all the little details that if you weren't paying attention can really pull somebody out of a story. What happened to his hat? That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's huge. So if you...
And as Mike said, it wasn't so bad because we did have the plot outline, so we could go through the plot and see how everything was working out, but it was really the details, what's actually going on, what do you see, what do you hear, what do you smell, that got mixed up.
Yeah, and a character might be on one side of town when I finished a scene, and we'd start the next scene with you talking about a character, and I had just seen your character, but your character happened to be on the other side of the city, which, without some sort of advanced technology is completely impossible.
Well,
right.
Like the whole steampunk thing, that's advanced technology. So, I know a lot of authors when they work together, sometimes their writing styles and their editing styles, even though they think they're close, tend to clash a little bit. Especially their editing style. If you say, okay, well, you edit my scenes and I'll edit your scenes, and when you get it back, you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I meant, and your editing just completely cut everything out that I thought was beautiful and wonderful, and you've deflowered my baby here. How do you...
Wow,
did you guys
deflowered your baby.
like that?
That sounds so wrong.
It does. Did you guys run into any problems like that? And if you did, how did you handle it? And what do you...
I don't think we ran into anything that severe where we tried to change the voice of what the other had written, as much as we just tried to get the continuity to fit. And that's where, like we said, we had a lot of challenge, even because we tried to do it with a 24-hour running clock. And we wanted to try and get everything wrapped up in one day. So as Mike said, a character at 7:15 a.m. might be at location A, location B, which is 15 miles away, they're there at 7:45.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't feasible for that to happen. So we really did have to go through and restructure a lot of things to make sure that when my characters and his characters interacted, it flowed a lot smoother to make sure we got them into the right place. And that was more of the challenge versus trying to clean up Mike's absolutely horrible dialogue and Mike trying to actually add descriptions to things that I couldn't describe.
So let me begin by saying die. No, to your point, asking about voice, we purposely did 2 points of view. So we have Jay's protagonist, Jack Kane, and we have my antagonist, Felonious, who is, a Dr. Evil kind of character, and his two minions and his butler. We purposely tried to keep the voices different so that, first of all, you knew which character was speaking. Always important. And secondly, we wanted people to realize when they had made the switch from the good side of the house to the bad. As far as the editing goes, when we were trying to clean things up, I know I took the document and spent many hours cleaning up. Then I passed it over to Jay, who did exactly the same thing. So it's not like we were competing with each other or getting in each other's way. We were taking turns, and we were leaving the voice as much as it had been as we could.
And then we passed it off to friends who said, "What in the heck did you do? This chapter's out of place, and these characters are over here." And we're like,
Yep.
"Wait, no, we've been through it like 6 times each already. What do you mean we got that wrong?"
Yep. And I mean, we were still running into occasions. So my two minions are Lenny and Squiggy, and for the longest time, for the longest time, it would just change. It would be Lenny talking, and then all of a sudden it would be Squiggy, basically being Lenny. So those were things we had to fix, and I think we had one last instance of that when we were going through the arc. And so those, just because we had made the mistake of doing the writing the way we did, it took a lot of cleanup to do, which we've learned from, by the way.
Yes.
So would you recommend this kind of collaboration or this kind of doing it like this to somebody else, and how would you improve it for yourself next time?
I think that's where Mike and I hit on the best way for us to actually do this work was when we were writing that, as he put it, the Battle Royale, when, as he said, we initially both got the plot outline, went off and wrote our own thing separately, and then tried to piece it all together, which was difficult because you have I think it was about 35 or 40,000 words each, and we're trying to interlock all these chapters correctly, and it's like you building half a puzzle and me building half a puzzle, and let's put the whole puzzle together, and the pieces are supposed to intermix correctly. Not always going to work out for the best. But for the Battle Royale, when he would write 2, 3, 5 paragraphs and tag Jay, you're it, and then I hop in there, write 2, 3, 5 paragraphs, I'm immediately reading what he's writing and going with it, which is what we should have done right off the bat. Is I read a chapter, tag Mike, you're it. Mike goes and reads my chapter, writes his chapter, and still have an overall plot outline so we know where the other should be going, but it gives you a little flexibility. And that's what we really didn't have, and that's what we both tried to work in a little flexibility into the story. Things don't always go exactly where you're planning, even though you have a plot outline. And had we been reading chapter by chapter, it would have flowed so much smoother. Now that we know that, that's our goal going forward, is to do that one chapter at a time, read the chapter, go forward.
Yeah, I mean, we actually wrote the book pretty fast, but the editing was horrendous. Now, I can see going forward, the writing will be a little bit slower, but the editing will be nothing. It'll be a piece of
lot
cake.
Smoother.
So, I mean, to your question, would I recommend doing the collaboration the way we did? I would absolutely say no. Don't go away and do things separately like we started out. But I mean, there's lots of different ways to write a book. You can try to have two authors who are using the same voice. That's not really one and not really the other, but a combination. And we know people have been very successful at that. That's not what this book is. We definitely kept our voices unique. So the way we did it will work in that situation. If we're trying to keep our voices somewhat the same, I'm not sure it would work as well.
So we're coming down to the last 5 minutes here, and I want to talk briefly about the book itself, and I'd like you guys to, without giving too many spoilers away, can you guys kind of give me a quick outline of what the book's about and tell the viewers, of which there are quite a few now, tell the viewers what makes your book so special and why they should go out and read it.
Because it's all about Jack Kane. Jack Kane is awesome, and he takes up most of the... Okay, maybe not. Jack Kane is... He wants to do good. He wants to be a hero. But he's a little bit clueless at times. So, right off the bat, you know the book's about the Statue of Liberty. Obviously, he's investigating something, which doesn't happen to be the Statue of Liberty. And he manages to fumble his way through his way to try and find out what the villain is actually up to.
Yeah, I would say if you were to try to use a short soundbite, what it's like. So it is steampunk. It's set in Victorian New York. It is a combination in many ways of Maxwell Smart on the Jack Kane side, battling Dr. Evil. So, you've got two rather inept people on either side of the fence. Both are trying to do what they consider to be the right thing for different reasons. And hilarity ensues.
Much hilarity ensues.
Awesome. That sounds great. I mean, it sounds like an excellent book. Your target audience is YA. Is it? I know both of you have written a bunch of YA recently. Is this also in that realm, or is?
Yeah, I think it reads maybe reads a little bit YA-ish, but I think about some of the science fiction that I used to read, and a lot of the greats. That's really what they wrote. If you think Heinlein, you think McCaffrey, you think a lot of those. What was adult science fiction at the time was really what we would call YA today, and I think this one probably suits to that.
Right.
But it's definitely an all-ages book. There's definitely there's humor-appropriate situations for anyone at any age, and definitely we didn't write anything graphic, nothing, that would offend the masses. That's both Mike and I seem to have a very similar writing style where we don't include that. There's no vulgarity, there's no gratuitous violence or situations like that.
No, the book's meant to be fun for whoever reads it. It's not meant to.
Yes.
We're not trying to push the borders by being cutting edge or edgy at all. But I don't think that's a negative at all. I think that makes the book more accessible.
No,
I think it's Odin One-Eye. Sorry, I was going to say Odin One-Eye a long time ago termed my writing as minivan safe because he would listen to V&A Shipping while driving in his minivan with his kids.
Right.
Awesome. Perfect. I did hear you mention that this all happens within a 24-hour timeline. Did you guys attempt to mimic the show 24? Is that what you're going for? Is that?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was. I think our original connection was it's going to be a YA steampunk superhero novel with a little 24 thrown in there, and we were trying to mash as much in there as we could, and as we wrote it, it kind of found its own voice, it found its own feel.
Yeah, you bet.
That's awesome.
Well put.
This sounds like a great book. When is it coming out?
June 1st.
June 1st.
Yeah, it'll be available as an ebook initially. Our publisher has said if it has legs as an ebook, it will be a print book.
I like
yes.
it. And who's going to be publishing this?
The publisher is Champagne/Burst Books. So I think they have a number of imprints. Champagne is the main imprint. Burst, I think, is the actual subprint that this one's coming out on. But it'll be available everywhere.
That's great. I like it.
So buy lots.
Buy lots. Absolutely buy lots.
Buy one for your friends.
If we can take just a minute to tell the listeners and the audience how they can get a hold of you if they wanted to follow you on social media or where they can find out more about you and your writing.
Jay, go for it.
I am at J.R. Murdock. Again, that's Murdock with a K, the letter J, the letter R, Murdock.com. I am J.R. Murdock on Facebook. you can look for the funny picture. I am J.R. Murdock on Twitter, and you can see I have kind of a theme going here. And if you can search on J.R. Murdock, go to jrmurdock.com, you can find all my different homes.
Yep, and I am M. Plested, that's Plested on Twitter. My website is michellplested.com, that's Michell Plested.com. My podcast is Get Published, which you are listening to now, I hope. I'm not sure how you would, well, you may be listening to it live too, I suppose.
Nice.
On Facebook, I'm Michell Plested. I'm either M. Plested or Michell Plested everywhere. So again, I've kind of followed a theme as well.
Yes, it's a successful theme because I do the same thing. This is what I'm telling myself. So thank you again, both of you, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. You guys have restored my faith in steampunk and humanity in the same evening. So
Wow.
Well, just wait till you read the book.
That's right. That's right.
I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
Felonious Fenduke Filcher the Fourth will restore your faith in humanity.
I like it.
Yes, he will. Well, okay, sure. We'll go with that.
I hope we don't have to do the audiobook of that one.
Yeah. Well, we don't actually use his whole name very often. Kind
Just Felonious.
of a running joke is they call him F4 often. I mean, that's not really all that funny, but it is when you hear it in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again for coming on the show, and I really appreciate talking to you. And so, yes, everyone go out and buy a copy of Jack Kane, which will be out on the 1st of June from Champagne Press. And this looks like an awesome book. Go ahead and follow both of these authors online. And thank you for watching or listening tonight, as the case may be.
Thank you. And I guess I would ask, are there any questions people want to ask us? Because I know that we've kind of hit our 30-minute limit for the show. But, Jay, if you have time, I'm certainly okay with questions if there are any.
So if you have a question, you can go use the question button on the side here. It sounds like I sound like the operator on a conference call here. But if you have a question...
But not as cute. Not as cute.
And my voice isn't as nice. Just use the QA button on the side, and we can ask questions. In the meantime, are either of you experiencing the storms we're getting here in New York?
Sorry, experiencing what?
Storms.
No.
No.
It's gorgeous here today. Of course, we measure temperatures the right way, which is Celsius.
Celsius, you speak.
I just switched to the Kelvin scale.
That works. But who is this Kelvin you speak of? Kelvin and Hobbes scale, perhaps?
That's right, Kelvin and Hobbes.
That must be it.
Now, it was interesting. I was in Vegas last week, and we did get rained on for 2 days, a very brief hailstorm, and a 5.4 earthquake.
Oh my goodness.
So it was an interesting week in Vegas, but it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I hear that you were teaching Penn and Teller how to do magic.
That I was. I had to teach Teller how to take selfies.
Nice. Did you teach him how to speak in public, too?
Actually, it was interesting. After the show, he was talking with everybody and very happy to sign anything and take pictures, and very friendly fellow.
Very cool.
Did he offer to buy a book?
No, he did not. And I wish I would have had the cards when I was in Vegas. I would have given him one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But, somebody...
I blame Jeffrey Height, personally.
I won't name Jeff Height by name.
Yeah.
But it's probably his fault, is what I'm hearing you say, or not?
Yeah, I blame Pat. Pat's a coworker. I used to blame him for everything on calls, and now I'm on a new team, and I still blame him. And people are like, who's Pat? The guy I blame everything for.
Yes,
Nice.
Exactly. All right, so we don't have any questions, so I'm going to say let's wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for coming on the show tonight, and the viewers that we have tonight. That we really appreciate you sitting through this and listening. and hopefully you got something out of it. And,
Yeah, thank you.
And good night.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, and good night.
Good night.